Are we here?
We're
You're
here.
there. You're
I'm
all the
there.
way there in the cold up north.
Where are any of us anyway,
Jon
Kristen?
Snow.
You know Game of Thrones? I never watched Game of Thrones nor read the books.
Like till now?
No, not even till now.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
so I
What a cultural gap. This is what you should be doing for 2025.
I mean I've been exposed to it enough that I know the major
No, you
plot
don't know.
lines.
You didn't watch it, you don't know. You just pretend you know.
No, I mean like I've read Wikipedia, I've read the summaries, and so like I have like a cultural baseline of, I know what the Red Wedding is, I know all that. And so but so I
I've
was
never
in
seen okay, I know how to trigger boys. I've never seen the original Star Wars, but I read the Wikipedia.
I think that triggers
Or nor the
older
Indiana
men.
Jones. I've never not seen a single Indiana Jones in my entire life.
I bet most Zoomer guys would also feel that way.
Oh.
Like actually I was reading a lament by I think
Mm.
like this 45-year-old guy,
Mhm.
and he was like he was so upset that Goodfellas and Scarface don't resonate with Zoomer boys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean like
I don't know. I feel like cutting garlic with a razor blade in prison may no longer be relatable. And
no. What's up,
GMMM
Miriam?
and
Melanin?
GMMM. Thank you both
Dang.
for joining us.
Y'all, I mean, that's plagiarism in the chat. I mean, I
Oh
support
man,
it, but barely.
the 4 M's.
Kristen, how's your week been so far?
I am good. Oh, so Mariam knows that there's been a little bit
Doxed.
of weather upset here, so that was exciting. Waking up at
Yeah.
5 a.m.
Was that
and
your first tornado warning?
yeah, I have not lived in a tornado-ridden area, nor that I know that California is one. I've seen one like maybe like kind of far away before when I was driving up and down the corridor in California in Central Valley. So
Okay.
it's closer to like a dust devil, it's not like
Yeah.
a real tornado. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
I get
very
really
different
excited
thing.
when I see dust devils randomly.
I grew up with very regular tornado warnings and watches in Georgia.
Mhm.
Georgia has tons of tornadoes.
Oh, and yeah, and then like they were the warning said go hide in the basement and watch the news, and then we were like, well, there is no basement, and the news hasn't even
Watch
caught
the
up yet.
news. Like,
Yeah, it was like keep up with the news, and then like I had to go on Twitter, of course, because
yeah,
earthquake Twitter turned into tornado Twitter. That was the only place where I could get information, which is such a
earthquake.
like public health safety hazard.
There's nothing. I mean, dude, tornadoes
Got even more
are.
M's here.
What's up, Sebastian? What's up, Gwen? Tornadoes are crazy, but the other thing that you can do if you don't have a basement, because I believe you do not, but I don't want to dox more of your apartment, but or house or mansion or private
Yeah, or
island
mansion.
could be any of these three, any of those four things.
I live in a mansion in the Bay Area.
You actually live at the top of Salesforce Tower. You kicked him out, and that's where y'all stay.
Tip.
But you can go into a bathroom if you have a molded tub, like how you can have like a bathroom like where it's all one piece. That is okay in a pinch as well.
I saw someone said, and you put a mattress over yourself.
Yeah, I mean you can do that like for the debris and detritus and air flotsam. I don't think that's an appropriate use of flotsam, but I like the word flotsam, so I shove it in there.
I'm gonna somehow turn tornado back to our topic. So
I mean, tornadoes are a big uh-oh causer.
They're a big uh-oh. But one of the most traumatic movies I saw as a kid was Twister with Helen Hunt. Do you remember that movie?
Of course I remember that movie. Why was that traumatic?
That was just
it was like my life.
Of course, that's just the scariness of this wind that can appear from nowhere and sweep you away. No, but it's the fact that one of the key parts of the plot was the fact that they had a competitor that was copying their ideas. Right? Remember, she had the orbs, and then they had the cubes.
Yeah, orbs versus cubes. OG. It's Capulets and Montagues.
Exactly. So don't you think that as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest uh-oh feeling is like, uh-oh, you're doing something and there's a competitor or like another idea that's like really close to you. And you're like, oh,
No,
not keeping up.
the kind of knowledge is supposed to be you don't obsess about what the other people are doing. You just make yours as best that you possibly can.
Is that actually true though? I mean, judging on how everyone behaves on the timeline, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, like I think people copy stuff when they have when their thing isn't working is when people tend to copy stuff, I find, right? Like cuz it's you disagree.
I think it's mixed in with the fact that okay, when things aren't working and then you see something else is taking off, that's almost like sticking your finger in the wind and being like, oh, okay, everyone's attention is trending towards this kind of mechanic. Therefore, I need to build something that is a similar mechanic. So it's almost like you copied, but like it's a mix of competitor sticking to it and then also a market sentiment.
Well, okay. So maybe the most famous example of this is Wheels. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the incredible thing about being a person is that
The sad part is because I'm in the, freaking Bay Area. When you said Wheels, I thought, did you mean the Uber and Lyft competitor that never took off?
no, I mean the
Actual
circles that
wheels? Oh, okay.
are on our vehicles.
Oh, okay.
The tutorizer, nobody asked you. Just kidding. So humans are really, really good at learning from other people. And like I've read some articles and some cool papers about like that's maybe the most important thing about being a human is your ability to not have to figure everything out on your own and like
Mhm.
fast follow.
Yeah.
Fast follow is like copying without a bunch of baggage attached to it. I think
Yeah.
like, I mean, but what we see is like, on our part of the internet, like we just see a lot of people that are trying to get attention. And then there are metas that have attention for a period of time. And the way that you like vampire attack that is by replicating it. But
Is vampire attack the same thing as what you just said, the second mover advantage thing?
vampire attacking is a little bit more directed where there's like a group that exists,
Mhm.
right? Like users of platform A, and you do something to incentivize everybody to move to your platform B. And so like the
Mm.
original kind of vampire, or not original, but like one of the early ones, at least in crypto, was between swapping automated market makers, AMMs, and I believe it was Uniswap and then Sushi Swap. And Uniswap didn't want to do an airdrop. Sushi Swap was like, "Hey, we're going to give everybody that uses it an airdrop," and they basically just like did the same thing that Uniswap did. And then a bunch of people got the Sushi Swap token, and then Uniswap was like, "Okay, well that's not good." And so like that
Mm.
vampire like the idea that there is a resource that exists, in this case is people, you do something to like vampire away that attention and group of people to do your thing. And
So
that's
what if the
kind
sushi swap didn't last, right? Because I've never heard of them and I know Uniswap.
well, so that's kind of the trick with the copy meta, is that it doesn't really lead to long-term positive outcomes. And I think some smart
Ah,
people
is
like
that why
to
we don't have
argue,
a certain airdrop from a certain place?
I mean, look, I think we're in like a reckoning moment with building stuff
Mhm.
where some really smart, really successful and famous people, Nikita Beer comes to mind, just fundamentally believe that you can't build long-term things anymore.
Mm.
And that,
I
it's a
know,
bummer.
right? It's okay. We'll build long-term
What's
culture
up,
here,
Soul?
which apparently is GM with 4 M's. It's the official GM of
Yeah.
OK Banger.
Gumma. That's canon. Gumma.
Mhm.
Gumma.
Yeah, and then if you try to build long-term things, then you get extra uh-oh feelings. That's a
Yeah.
bump deal. Why do we do this?
I mean, I don't know. Do you want to define uh-oh feelings? Because we just kind of had this idea. Okay, so y'all, but behind the curtain, we pick what we're going to do next either on the day of the previous show, Was that a curtain peek, Kristen? That was funny.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to work
the-
on my
My physical or your physical comedy.
Yes, I am working on it.
But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
We're talking about when we decide, how we decide the next show.
I mean, it's basically Kristen is our activation energy for most things. If I'm being completely honest,
Really?
You carry the process burden of a lot of the show.
Oh no, I'm wearing such a traditional feminine role.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I am happy to carry more. I just also think I'm more comfortable with just being super free form with it. I don't know if that's true though.
Yeah, we can talk. That's a separate topic, but go on with this one.
Sure, we won't get sucked in that. Anyway, so Kristen usually DMs on like Sunday, like, "Hey, what are we gonna do for the show on Tuesday?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then we'll go back and forth about it. And so it's not like when we decide what we're doing, sometimes we have a really strong conviction about what we're gonna say, and then sometimes we're just like doing it live.
Yeah, but how did you come up with feeling? I think I tend to ask you for topics.
Yeah, which also there's something embedded in that. That
yeah,
I need to reach out more. So I say, like, I've been calling a feeling that I have the feeling, like a guiding feeling that I have in my life for at least a decade, probably longer. Because at some point in my life, I realized that the most consistent signal of like, hey, you like pay attention to what's happening right now is like this uneasiness inside, like somewhere between my heart and my stomach. And it's generally a bad
what is a good
Yeah, I need to think about like what a good could be. I mean, like, okay, actually, I'll take that back. It's not good or bad. It just is. It is a signal from your body that something is maybe not amiss.
Oh.
It maybe not like be explicitly amiss, but like, okay, so when you're doing land nav in the military, you have a compass, you have a map, you have a protractor, which doesn't like look like a protractor that you're thinking of. It's like a special military one.
Oh.
But when you set like a direction, that's called your azimuth. And so like I feel like a good is an ooh. That's so good, Mariam. That's such a musician answer too. But so when you like, hey, I'm trying to find this spot on the map, you figure out, okay, I'm going 45 degrees for 500 meters. That's your azimuth. So you need like you'll pop out your compass every 100 meters or whatever, be like, okay, am I still going 45 degrees? And you do what's called an azimuth check. AZIMUTH. I think of my feeling as my sign that I need to do an azimuth check.
Ooh.
It's I'm going about my day, and then I'm like, it's like your spidey sense of this ain't it right now. What's happening? Sometimes you get it in public when there's an erratic, like drunk person nearby. You're like, okay, that's something I need to pay attention to. Sometimes like I get it when I'm by myself, when I'm just working on something, and it's not like going the way that I like want it to. And then sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. And so the reason why I brought up feeling is because we've kind of had this extended feeling about some of the stuff we've been doing with like our like professional work, some personal stuff, but like also with OK Banger. Not like we know this is what we want to do, but we don't know the form of it that is the right form for forever or the future, or even like right now, because like frankly we're not growing as fast as we want to. And so like the feeling is the pre-signal before you figure out what's actually wrong. And that's why I think it's an interesting topic for me, because I listen to, like, I notice I have it a lot, and it's always useful to pay attention to it.
So what's the azimuth thing one does?
Like, how do you check? Like, what's my routine? What's up, Wolf? Is that Kazi?
It's Kazi. He has his own YouTube channel. Go check it out.
Oh, dang. Oh, wait, yeah. I've seen the podcast.
Yeah, he interviews Very, very successful people.
Yeah. One day he'll have us on. But
yeah, Kazi.
So honestly, my first dude. So another army thing, which I
okay, I love this comment from Ivy. They mentioned ICQ. Yeah, that's such a specific reference. And for those who don't know, actually, do you know what Ivy's referencing here?
It's the pre-IRC, right? Or am I wrong?
But why ICQ and why this episode?
I actually don't think I get this reference. What's the reference?
So clearly, you didn't use the actual app because in ICQ the notification sound is "uh-oh."
Oh, okay.
A very specific thing.
That's funny.
Those were the days. And also, what a bizarre sound to make for someone messaging you. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, YouTubers would have had a field day if it was a thing back then.
Yeah.
So another thing, man, I've been talking a lot of army stuff today. So battle drills are kind of like plays. Like, Chris, do you ever play sports?
I mean, I went to a British international school, so very much like Hogwarts. We had 4 houses, in which one is forced to compete, even if I'm not good at sports. Well, actually, I played a lot of sports, but
so you played like team sports.
Yeah, I was a seat filler.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, so you learn like plays in the sports. You're like, hey, okay, this person goes here, this person goes there.
Theoretically, yeah.
Okay, so you understand the concept of a play.
Yes. The execution was not done well.
Yeah. But so battle drills are like military plays. Like the classic battle drill is battle drill 1 alpha, which is like if somebody starts shooting at you, half the unit like drops and starts shooting back, the other half goes around and attacks. Like that's a classic play. Battle drill 1 alpha. My battle drill for when I have an feeling is if I can help it, I just go on a walk. Like I feel like that's the advice I've given for the past like 5 shows, but straight up, it's like something isn't right now. Spidey sense goes off. I'm like, ugh, like this is not it, chief. And then I'm just like, okay, I wrap up what I'm doing and I just like try to go on a walk because without my phone, explicitly without my phone, if I have my phone in my pocket, my walk is suboptimal. Because I'm like, oh, maybe I can check it. Like, what time is it? Like, even just the presence of the magic rectangle kind of like throws me off. And so my straight up first step is to always take that walk.
So what decision? I feel like we're in the midst of going on a walk right now with regards to the show, right? We're behind the curtain again. I'm like the worst. So I would pitch Cameron. I'd be like, "Oh, let's do the action A," and then I would like walk it back and be like, "Yeah, but then the downside of A is blah blah blah." And then like a few hours later, I'll be like, "Let's do action B, which has an action A element in it."
Do you want to be specific? Do you just want to rope everybody into our
I do.
Our emotional labor?
Yes, the emotional labor of why we hum and haw. It is actually something as simple as like, should we have a Discord? Like, and we would love to know your opinion about this as well, because we go back and forth on it, right? Where like, okay, everyone has a great time here, but the moment we randomly cut the stream off, like that kind of ends the party. So it would be helpful to have like a Discord, right? But we also like, I myself have like run these Discord-based communities before, and I know that just offering a space is actually not enough. You have to like foster and nurture it.
Yeah, we got to do work.
Yes, like we also like want to be able to grow the show so that we can reach more people, right? But then fundamentally the issue is that like nurturing community is great, like retention work, which is a yucky marketing term, but there's sort of like a nurturing kind of work, right? But then like in order to reach more people, I think Cameron and I need to make more short form and medium form content, which is a lot more like scalable in the sense that it's discoverable, whereas in Discord, like you kind of have already watched the show, so therefore it doesn't solve the initial issue of getting more people to watch the show, because our KPI is like 10,000 subs, right? So that's why we tend to go back and forth on this. And Tudorizer, why not an FC group? Well,
because they suck. Like straight up. Like obviously I love Farcaster because I've been here for 2 years, but it's not a place where I want, like, it's never gonna feel better than a group chat. And that's
Mhm.
not that's like not how communities on the internet really work. And frankly, like the energy to be the energy required to make a
Mhm.
group chat work and
Mhm.
coherent,
Mhm.
uh it's like a freaking lot. And frankly, the last thing is like group chats don't scale beyond like maybe 30 people that are mostly similar. Actually,
Mhm.
Kristen, you had a really good because we were being super honest about this. Actually, when in doubt, I just want to be more honest on this show, Kristen. Like we've talked
Mhm.
about that. You said something to the effect, and like please restate it because you said it really well. You said something to the effect of like, I've ran and been in a bunch of different things that are like group
Mhm.
chats, and once they get past a certain point, it all falls apart unless everybody is already friends.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the best, I mean, as you all know, like the best like Discord groups are essentially just a gaggle of friends, right? And like uh, I've run one before, which was a paid community. Like people paid me, and then it was like, you know, a journaling meditation community for like an entire year, and we had a Discord component. But then it's sort of like, you know, it's rewarding, but it became like really tough to scale. And the thing is, it's like one of those things where like the uh-oh feeling is like, if I'm my time is unfortunately zero sum. So in order
Yeah,
for me to do the thing, like I love like, you know, running community stuff, but I also know that it doesn't like do it's not actually the hard thing. The hard thing is making more quality content.
yeah,
Because making and to make quality content, you need to first invent the universe.
yeah.
Right? Like you have to understand the algorithms, you have to understand a lot of things. So
And you have to make a lot of bad content,
yeah, no,
frankly.
no, no, mad content. Yeah, so that's also like so for us, like a lot of these uh-oh feelings has to do with like understanding what in the market works right now versus like what we know we can do like reasonably. Also, because we had that skit idea. If you do remember a few
Yeah, we
episodes
talked
ago,
about that.
some people on the show mentioned they were gonna write skits, but turns out we're not in a mood to write like funny skits right now, neither one of us. So we're like, but then like the directionality is correct. Like we want to make like more digestible short form content, but I don't think we can do like written skits at this moment. It has to be like
Yeah.
us riffing about a topic like we do now, but just in a more shorter, condensed way.
Yeah, and you know the other realness in our problem is like we're
Mhm.
both talkers. Like we both love yapping.
Yeah, yeah.
The doing part of the content is the hard part. Like
Right.
we, you know, every week we have 2 hours plus
Mhm.
worth of mineable like video content into shorts. It's not like perfect, but it's like, you know, better than having to film 100 of them ourselves.
Mhm.
And like like it's been my responsibility to do it. I volunteered for it, and I just haven't really been freaking doing it because we got a lot of stuff going on.
But I also think it's because it's not easy. It's like
Yeah,
theoretically,
it's yeah,
surely we're saying so many gems, but the problem is that most of them require context that is
yeah,
not easy to edit together. So we
and
need to be more. I need to make easier to edit content for us,
yeah.
right?
I
And
mean,
also, I also need to jump
we're
in and
learning
learn
as
to
we
edit.
do it.
Yeah. Why
And
is there a pair of
Ivy,
eyes on Cameron's bed?
that's because you know the why aren't there eyes on your bed, Ivy? You ever think about that?
Well, I think Ivy might have eyes on her bed.
That's actually if anyone in the chat does, it is probably Ivy. No, that's my
Exactly.
hat. And I wanted to see how long it would take for somebody to notice that there was something weird in my background.
That
So
that is the work of a streamer. As we yes, we created this engagement from you by via random objects.
y'all
Yeah,
go back and watch our other shows. I
hmm
hide stuff in the background all the time.
yeah,
It's one of my favorite things to do when prepping for a show.
right.
Oh, and what's
So
up,
okay,
Al?
and honesty wise, I feel like this whole running a community is one of my biggest feelings. Right, I often bring up it's like, oh, I have a lot of baggage and shame coming from that because what happens oftentimes, especially with regards to community running and building, is that I like overpromise and I don't realize that like, oh, I don't have the capacity to do that. And like, you know, eventually I just like burn myself out. So that's why I don't know, you probably noticed that the number one thing I always like propose and walk back is like community building type stuff, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like don't commit to something that you know you can't do. And I know that a well-run community is something that takes years to build. It's not a small experiment you can do.
And it's a very hard thing to pre-plan.
Mhm.
Like you can't be like, hey, we're gonna build a community for X unless you are already the X person, right? Like we were just talking about a tea creator. What was his name again?
Jesse's Tea House.
Yeah, and like neither of us have like this out of the box thing. It would be like, oh yeah, we're always gonna talk about tea or whatever. And so
right. I do like his approach in like doing like a product led content sort of thing. And I feel like that's why like many of us here love like Sam's Candle Club, right? Because it's like it gives you something to talk about, which is fancy candles, and it creates a culture around a thing. So
cool beans, say more.
Internet communities are so goofy.
I mean, I don't know if that's derogatory or not. I would argue that internet communities are the preeminent communities of today.
Oh, just fake community unless it's an IRL. I do agree. I feel like the best ones that I'm participating in have IRL components.
But that's different than it's a fake community unless there's IRL. Like if you've ever seriously played like an online MMO, or even just like if you ever played like online games in general, I would say that those are real communities that can have IRL components, but they don't have to.
Yeah, I can see how Cool Beans like hyper capitalism, communities based on products. Yeah, I that's what I when I
Farcaster is a community based on a product. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that is true. I was thinking in terms of physical products, like it's like very much like a 3 steps away sort of thing. It's like the Jesse's Tea House. Like I popped into their Discord, and I would say it's relatively active and vibrant. And it's sort of like because you use like the fact that there's Chinese tea, which is like a time-consuming process, and therefore
it's a ritual
automatically. Yeah, it's a ritual, and it selects for a certain persona, and that certain persona tends to get along. So in a way, you can use product appeal to pre-select for certain personality traits.
Sorry, Cool Beans. I played WoW. That was just people I hang out online with, but not community. That is what a community is, dude.
I think, the ones have different definitions.
I'm not trying to be rude.
I feel like one of the strictest definitions I've heard that I've invented is for friendship is, would you pick that person up from the airport? like that to me is the dividing line of community.
Crazy Frog, do they even read the chat? I don't know. You tell me. Kristen, would you pick me up from the airport?
Yeah, I would. Of course I would.
All right. I'm letting you know next time I land in Boston Logan. You better be there.
Oh man. You're not
Scott, you're not my pal, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
There's bud buddy pal discourse going on like maybe it's just male Twitter, I don't know. But people are saying that bud is a very passive aggressive, or I don't know the exact word, but people don't like being called.
The new meta
bud.
is lil bro. I saw this on the timeline.
I feel like I've seen that for a long time.
Oh, okay. No, it's new to me.
Okay, little sis.
I was thinking about that. It's like, does little sis sound insulting? Yeah, I guess, but that's not as common.
I would say like lil bro in gaming discourse is way better than just calling the 10-year-old as a squeaker.
That's true. That's true.
Cool Beans, where are you from? Sorry, Crazy Frog. Community is people that you have rights over and responsibilities to. So in communism, so that means in communism you can't have a community because you don't have rights over other people, right? There's a lot of logic games to play here.
Yeah. Well, now to TIL, community is a very hot, controversial topic.
Maybe we do freaking community next. It seems to get people fired up.
Yeah. And I know we have many experts on community leading. Actually, like literally, I feel like our chat is filled with community leading experts, which makes me feel self-conscious as well.
That's interesting. Oh
Yeah.
no, Kristen, is the thing that we iterate around community building? I hope not.
Well, that generates maximum feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. Our whole community is oriented around not wanting to build a community.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what's the difference between a community and a scene? I don't know. Ivy, you tell me. You're the scene expert.
I used to be a scene. I used to be a scene kid. That was my like it's different. Like the definition of scene. What? Okay, what's this hand gesture, Kristen?
Tell me what. Okay, so when I think of a scene, like no offense to both of you, I think of like, okay, it's kind of dark in like a nightclub situation, and you're standing by a bar and you're dressed up in a certain way and you look cool, and that's a scene. But I feel like there must be more to it, right?
No, I think that kind of nails it.
Okay.
No, so the equivalent of my scene. So there was a satellite constellation of music venues, mostly in strip malls, because that's the architecture in Georgia, outside of Atlanta. And so in Atlanta, there was the Tabernacle. There was a couple other venues that were like emo, hardcore, post-hardcore music venues, right? Warped Tour used to come through, and there was like an Atlanta like scene emo music community. And though like the feeder into the Atlanta like scene was all of these satellite shitty venues. My personal staple venue was Swayze's venue, which was at one point a comic book store. It might have been a comic book store by day, and then they would take all of the shelves out, and it turned into a hardcore venue at night, and you just mosh in the strip mall. Yeah, well, I mean, you know,
How old are you in this scene?
15, 16, you know, ripping darts. I mean, there's a lot of, it's really problematic, right? Because there's like actual legal adults there, and then a bunch of like, since they didn't serve alcohol, anybody could come in. And so it was like it was a whole thing, right? But that was a.
Did you write X on your
So I was never straight edge. Okay. But like I had friends that were like that. And so, but like, yeah, that whole thing I did, you know, I was a skinny pants warrior, skinny jean warrior, you know, used to wear 2 belts because I thought that was cool. Had the, you know, 10K subs and we'll get the reveal. You know what I mean? That's
yes, there's actual footage.
That'll be on the internet forever. So, you know, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Community.
Actually, I want to give a shout out to Cast Out.
Shout out.
There's lots of communities competing in this Survivor Like show, and I believe it's coming on the hour after this one on GM Farcaster, where you get to find out who got voted off. So please do check that out after this.
That's exciting. I have to address Cool Beans. So being from San Francisco, like Bud as a non-derogatory placeholder, like it's very common for someone to be like, "What's up, Bud?" in like Southern vernacular, and it not be dripping with condescension that I imagine a lot of the, especially tech adjacent. I think like I've been in and around tech long enough through like, you know, business school into startup land into Farcaster that I can say with full confidence that most of tech culture is basically LARPing other cultures, or like taking bits and pieces of it and like bringing it into this weird network state homogeneity.
Yeah. In this way, I agree with Cool Beans' comment. It's like we are deconstructing and reconstructing some of our like primal community needs through these weird architectures.
I will say traditional community used to burn witches.
Yeah, that was.
So it's not as simple as it's worse now. Like, you know, I am feeling a little feisty today, so I'm just going to be pushing back on the chat. So heads up. But I have escaped traditional community structures by coming to the United States. So a lot of traditional communities wouldn't accept people in this chat, unfortunately.
Yeah. I love Link's comment. I put skinny jeans on for the first time in a while. My wife was very into it. Ooh,
Is she
do
a
we get to
millennial?
see that?
Y'all millennials?
I think
That's
so.
why, if so, because
Oh.
that's the thing. Crazy Frog, is Bud gender neutral? I use it as gender neutral, but usually more for men than women. The presenting.
All right. So, what's your biggest feeling?
Lizard people.
Huh?
Enough said. Moving on. All right. So okay. So like when I talk to somebody, like, so there's feelings for me, which are signals about myself and a thing that I'm actively doing. And so it could be like pragmatic, it could be like a pragmatic thing, kind of like I'm talking in a conversation with a group of people. Sorry, I'm reading Cool Beans comment. Like, I know. I'm being a little rude.
Notice that I have transitioned away from this topic entirely.
We're trying to soft veto Cameron's negativity today, or contrarianism. I don't know. Maybe we need more fighting clips, Kristen. Maybe that'll help us grow. What was I saying? So there's feelings for me because I'm hyper aware, because I'm generally anxious about interacting with other people, because I don't feel like I do it well, even though I have consistent evidence that I'm pretty good at not screwing up talking with other people in large groups of people. But so I'm always anxious about that. And so the feeling for myself is like, I'm talking about a thing. Have I been talking too long? I can see, like, I know that there's people are losing interest because I've been rambling about a topic, or maybe I like
social cues anxiety.
Yeah. So like accidentally saying a dog whistle that I didn't know was a dog whistle, or like not like a racist dog whistle, but like a common a common dog whistle in HBS Silicon Valley land is saying you went to college in Boston. People say I went to school in Boston so that they don't say they went to like a Harvard or an MIT or whatever, because they know that it comes across as like hoity-toity or whatever.
But that thing is itself hoity-toity these days. I'm very confused.
Yeah. So I mean that's how all of this stuff goes, right? Like there's a statement, there's a reaction to how the statement is perceived, and then there's a reaction to the reaction, and we're in this infinite simulacrum of responding and counter responding. But so the feelings about that are kind of like in the pragmatic sense of like, okay, what is the thing that is happening around me? And then there's like internal compass feelings where there's nothing explicit telling you that something is wrong, but you just have that kind of feeling. Like, I mean, frankly, we started a Discord chat. We just haven't shared it yet because we didn't feel like this was a thing that we fully wanted to commit to.
Right. I kind of like forced your hand there too, because I was like, from now on, I'll only message you this private server, the private thing.
I had to freaking download Discord onto my phone and like try to change my habits, which it was a good experiment, anyway. But so but I think after a couple of days of messaging back and forth in Discord, that's kind of an feeling of like, this doesn't feel the way that like it should, even though there's nothing telling us that it is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the question. I just kind of got lost there and kept going.
And I feel like what Marianne brought up earlier and into the Rise of 2 is like there is an opposite feeling that we're seeking, right? Of like, ooh, this feels right. And then we go do the thing. And we haven't found that thing yet. So that's why we keep like equivocating over what we should do.
Okay, Banger keeps rolling along.
Yeah. Ooh, I was gonna ask you something, but I forgot now.
Okay.
So fill up space while I try to remember what I was gonna ask you.
A chat app named Discord is like naming a fast food joint gluttony.
At least
okay, so I've actually spent more time ruminating about Discord's name than I think I've shared with you, because like I think it is a really interesting name. because it like came out of video game communications, right? Like it wasn't a hey, let's build Slack but make it crazier. It
Well,
was
according to one of their tip of the day, as the app slowly loads, it used to be called Wyvern, which is that like
Dragon.
mythical creature. Yeah.
Killed one of those. I'm replaying Witcher 3 right now. And so
Oh.
yeah, killed one of those the other day. No big deal.
Mm.
Also, I saw a clip and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like, I didn't realize this. The clip made a joke. I think it's that streamer named Thor. You know, the guy with the hair and the deep voice. You know who I'm talking about?
No, but go on.
He's pretty funny. He does a lot of security content, and he's now a video game designer. But he's just like, you realize that lamps in video games use real electricity? And I was just like, fuck, man, why'd you have to say that? That's weird. That's like a weird thing to have to process.
That is trippy. I want to turn them all off. So,
and
I do have a weird productivity tip related to
cool. Drop it.
Okay. So, which has worked for me, and I'm not saying it works 100%, but it got me through like a lot of things that I've been putting off.
Like this year or
yeah, this
sorry for continue.
Or like
okay.
in the past like few weeks or so. I don't know whether you noticed.
Oh, so this is like up to the moment.
Kristen rebooted. Which is I realize now that oftentimes I do things to relieve the feeling, right? It's sort of like, oh, I have this like thing I need to do. I've been putting it off and it makes me feel like ugh. And like I think that if I do the task, then that feeling would go away. But in a way, that is of course true, right? Temporarily, that feeling would go away until you have another task and it just like refills itself. Dependency on that relief is what was driving me crazy. And if I do things now without expecting it to make me feel better, I actually get more things done. It's like the opposite psychology has been working. Like I like before I would do things hoping it'll make me feel good, right? But which is I think what a lot of people like productivity gurus would say. It's like, you know, get the thing done, you feel good, that kind of thing. But actually it creates a worse situation for me. And if I don't like, I'm okay with the feeling persisting. That helps me get the thing done because I no longer put that hope. Because I realize that it's the expectation or like of that outcome of that relief of the feeling that makes it bad. Because now if I do the thing and it doesn't give me that feeling in even a small increment, then I just feel terrible. And now the thing is only halfway done. So like there's a whole mental gymnastics going on.
So
and I can like just not do that.
So the lesson in there is to give up hope.
In a way, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it's actually releasing yourself from expectation of reward.
Of hope. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So to recap, we feel bad things sometimes, and you should just accept that and feel bad all the time forever, and you'll be more productive. Is that fair?
Well.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm just being annoying.
It's not to be more productive per se, but to recognize some additional mental gymnastics that are happening. You know what I mean? That causes us to be stuck.
Yeah, I mean, okay. In a way, I mean, you haven't given up feel like the idea that you're going to feel better ever, right? Like it's not a truly, oh, this is the state of my life. I might as well, you know, do some work. Like you still feel like you'll be happy in the future, right?
Right.
So kind of what you're espousing is the expectation of near-term reward is the thing that causes you pain because perpetually expecting near-term reward is a recipe for perpetual disappointment, which drags you down in other areas. Is that a fair restating?
Correct, which is the opposite of what most productivity coaches might say.
Yeah. Cool Beans has an interesting point of I feel good.
I wanted to make a tangential point based on you know, I went to Stanford to ride my bicycle. I am married to someone who went to that school. And which is essentially the Harvard equivalent of the West Coast, right? So I did think about taking like a little course on Stanford just to be like, I went to Stanford to annoy everybody.
You still went to a very good school. You don't need to chase clout.
I know, but like the idea of annoying someone with fake clout is so funny to me. I did think about it for a hot second, and then being a LinkedIn douchey person.
My only comment on the chat discourse about saying they went to a school doesn't necessarily mean that they graduated, is that we live in a society that has general social contracts and assumptions are part of it. And if you take the stance that you have to say everything that you mean all the time, you are not fun to have a conversation with.
Cameron, you're so spicy today.
I know. I'm feeling it. I'm letting
I feel like that's like okay. I want to emphasize that there is a context / communication resolution loss, and there's an inherent unfairness because we get to be on screen and chat, like
true,
whereas y'all are limited to typing chat. So
yeah, this is a power dynamic.
Yeah, like that we understand that there's additional context there, what everyone else is saying, and that we do take things out of context for purpose of comedy and humor.
I don't. I'm just mean.
So yes, crying face, cool beans.
All right, Kristen. What feeling have you had recently? Because I think that resonates with you. Okay. So the quick version is Claude Shannon. He wrote my favorite science paper of all time thus far, which is called A Mathematical Theory of Communication. And it's like the first attempt at, or like one of the first like coherent attempts at quantifying signal in messages and communication. Once you kind of read it, you're like, oh yeah, this is how communication works, where there's like a sender, there's a receiver, there's a medium that a message is transmitted through. There is noise that acts on that signal that can cause a reduction in the signal that goes through. You can think of noise even being like, there's actual noise that disrupts like, that your Wi-Fi as it's coming into your house. And so you don't get a full resolution picture. But noise can also be you spilling coffee in your lap when somebody's telling you something. And so you don't hear what they say, even though their signal isn't scrambled, but it's scrambled for you. And so I say that to provide context to the thing that I'm like actually trying to say, which is every message you send cannot be divorced from the context through which it is delivered. And so if you are having a conversation in a chat like this, there is some sort of presumption of shared context about the show, perhaps, or there's shared context about us roughly being in the same like corner of the internet. So we all know what like basic apps are. We all kind of like know what TikTok is. And so if you are a hard line, hey, if you don't say the thing, it shouldn't enter into a conversation. You're basically adding like millions of lines of extra context that you need to say with every single thing you say, every single message you send to somebody else. And so for all intents and purposes, every interaction you have with other people and the things other people create has like eons of embedded context that you don't even realize.
Exactly. Speaking of trolling chat, like for example, even this one emoji, right? Back in my day, it is taken sincerely to mean crying. But now I know that, like, I do it too. Like, kids these days use it to mean, like, almost like laughing, crying.
Yeah,
but they don't want to use laughing, crying.
It evolved into that.
Yeah, this one. So I think, like, that's why it's, like, everything that we say has hidden context, which makes it less into a permanent Tower of Babel situation.
Yeah, and that's why posts that breach containment on any given platform are usually good or like entertaining or like readable or interpretable without context. But when you add the context of like the platform or like the forum that it was posted on or like the group of people that originally shared it, it usually changes its meaning. And so that's why I'm a really big fan of the phrase that like once a post gets more than like 1,000 views or whatever, it's the internet's post. It's not yours anymore. And you can't really control it because you don't get to decide for other people what context they interpret something in.
Mm-hmm. So you were asking me what feelings I have.
Yeah. What are, I mean, we already talked about Discord, community, trying to figure out what our North Star kind of is for the first part of 2025 with OK Banger.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got feelings about?
I feel like right now, the other hidden part is like I'm in 2025. I want to have more alone time. You know, that's actually something I wish for, and I realized, oh, like, you know, shiitake mushrooms. Like, speaking of community, that would be very awkward. My wish is to be more alone. So that's also why.
Chat, you heard her. Don't respond to Kristen's post.
Don't respond. Like, don't engage in my post. I want to be left alone. Yeah, because like a part of like, you know, my desire for spiritual practice has a huge part of that component. And I realize now I'm able to let go. The reason why I haven't been like pushing for it is like I always had this drive, right? Of like, oh, you know, I need to help people. I need to be like socially engaged, that kind of thing. And I feel like I'm able to like let go of that more. But it also like decreases my relatability. And one of my core like things is actually like, am I being a relatable person? Like, am I blending in with everyone else? Like, because I grew up, you know, playing on hard mode, of being always the oddball, right? So I think like it's like that has been the latest feeling I've been able to actually overcome, because I'm just like telling you all on stream, right? But it's like been a hidden part of me that like this whole like subconscious need to be relatable that's been driving a lot of what I do.
That's interesting. And straight up, we haven't talked about this before. I kind of want to spend more time alone in 2025 too.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Boy. But like not alone in the sense of, you know, going to, you know, outside Boise, Idaho and living in a cabin for a while. Although that would be freaking sick. My life just doesn't like work like that right now.
Right. I think like both of us, we have spouses and like, you know, life obligations, but the thing is, it's like, you know, it's also like step-by-step process, right? There's so much time I'm diddling around on the internet that's not necessary.
No, that's exactly it for me. Like the thing about being alone isn't the act of being like by myself. It's about being disconnected from the things that stop me from processing and making the things I want to make. And so, like, straight up, the most positive change I've made in the past 6 weeks of my life is not missing going to a coffee shop twice a week and like just writing for like 45 minutes or an hour.
Oh.
And so, you know, I have a lot of like poems that I've written recently that I actually really, really like. And I'm working on ways to share that. Spoiler. But the Tutorizer, you can log off. It's no big deal. I won't be emotionally crushed or anything if you just leave.
I feel like that's also why I don't know about you, but I was thinking about 2025 and how I'm like I'm gonna maximize my juice of being like online here with you on the show and with everyone else. But then the rest of the time, min-maxing is what I was thinking about.
The okay, so a lot of good comments in the chat here. Maybe the most important one is Gwyn saying something which is very profound, which is you can't just sign up and move into a monastery. And if there's one that lets you do that, it's probably a cult. That's straight up. That might save a life one day. So GG on that. The all right. So
totally
true. Okay. So I go to a coffee shop. To a coffee shop without my phone. And I usually just bring like a pad of paper, and it's because I now have like a ritual of ordering like a cortado, and
that's my favorite too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, my favorite coffee shop drink is a freaking cortado. It's got the perfect amount of milk ratio.
Yeah, it genuinely is.
It's also called Gibraltar in some places.
Oh, cool. I don't know that. But I think there's an element of like, in public, I can't fuck off. You know what I mean? Like I can't, like I feel too much social anxiety to like like, one, I don't bring the device to the coffee shop. That's like one layer of helping. But
Mhm.
two, even if I like have a device, having other people around me, like I am embarrassed if I'm like slipping into watching shorts in public or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so for me, it's a
I would say
forcing
this
function.
is an ADHD body doubling technique.
I'm not diagnosed. I'm not gonna stolen valor, any type of neurodivergent things. I'm just saying what I've experienced in my life. And so I've tried a bunch of different things. The only
Mhm.
thing where I'm like, okay, I can show up and feel for
Mhm.
45 minutes without distraction, is this ritual process.
Right. So Curious Hermit brings up that yes, there's a lot of retreat centers. I agree, and I used to, I'm still like I'll do one like once a year or something like that, like a proper silent retreat where there's no phone and you're really not talking for the entire time. I feel I've also written this article where I talk about like at home retreats and how like these like proper retreats are great, but the thing is if I cannot integrate it to a daily life situation, then their utility is limited as well. So I think let's sort of like I am sort of like designing the monastery at home is what I'm trying to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, Chic Banks gives us more neurodivergent cred here. I think that's a real Cameron from my diagnosed ADHD perspective. Thank you.
Oh, Gwen, you're cutting right to the heart. I've been reflecting on this a lot, and like because as soon as I left the army, I had to relearn how to live my life.
Mhm.
And the you could take it down. It's actually really hard to edit with showing the comments. And so I've actually meant to talk to you about that. And so I don't know how we're gonna do it because I'd love showing it so it shows up on stream, but like also it makes it harder to edit because then it makes our faces super big because it does it anyway.
Now you all know behind the curtain, all these mechanistic things we need to think about.
Like we can't give you Mr. Beast production value, but we can give you what is in our deepest, darkest piece of our heart.
Yeah.
I used to have a right answer for everything in my life. Everything. And I never thought about it consciously, but I used to have a right way to wear my shoes. I used to have a right thing to wear. I used to have the right way to tuck the shirt in so that the seam of the shirt aligned with the belt buckle, aligned with the buttons on the pants. I used to never have to be wrong about anything, or at least never have to be uncertain about anything in my life because there was just a book answer for it. That's also why I studied math and physics, because guess what? You're just right or wrong in those fields of study. Right? Like, oh, you didn't calculate, momentum correctly. Well, guess what? You're wrong, idiot. No, but so as I like went through the military, obviously most of the situations you deal with are kind of in shades of gray, even if there is like a right answer because it's not fully right. As soon as I got out of the military, because there's no off ramp really. You're just like, I'm in the army. Okay, I'm a civilian now, and nobody checks up on me anymore. And I used to have to like check in every day. And then I went to this like business school program where I was like, oh, maybe there is a right answer here. And so I chased all of these structured career path kind of things for a little bit and realized I hated it. I call them career escalators, like not non-derogatory. Like there's a lot of different ways to live a life that's like good for you, but I didn't want to know what I was going to do in 20 years as much, like, even though I really, really liked knowing if I was right today. And so like, I've had this ongoing dual grief / self-discovery process of having to reckon with the fact that there's not a right way to tie your shoes. There are different ways to tie your shoes, and some maybe have a better knot than others. And I like,
that's incorrect. There's only one right way, and it's the surgeon's knot.
Okay. we'll have a whole episode on surgeon knots.
Just on shoelacing techniques.
But yeah, so I live in a world where I'm trying to put reasonable structure on it to help me like do the things that I want to do, both like internally fulfilling and externally achieving. But dude, it's freaking hard, especially because I spent 10 years of my life not really having to think about it because I just like knew the right answer, or there was a right answer to look up at least.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
don't know
but
about you.
to me, you like thrived even outside of the military. Do you just make up your own rules?
I mean, like, I I set goals and I hit them,
Mm-hmm.
but since I've evolved into this viewpoint of like, oh no, there is no objective standard of like rightness or wrongness or goodness or badness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you like hit the thing, you can't expect the like you did a good job that you would get in a video game because that's just
Mm-hmm.
not how things like work. And that's also
Right,
why I
right.
love video games, right? And I love
Mm-hmm.
the completionism within video games because you can finish them. You can 100% a
Yeah,
game.
yeah. You can, you can. All right. Well, I think we're on the hour. There's so many things I want to talk about
Uh-oh.
next time. Like
Uh-oh. Oh,
like
I'm sorry, I'm just annoying. Keep going.
your it's the one actually speaking uh-oh, I think you probably don't want to talk about it. I'm still curious about what happens in a school in Boston like MBA program and what the
Okay.
heck they teach you because I've interacted with quite a few people who have been through similar programs and the way
Yeah.
they think is so alien to me.
Okay.
that
I mean, let's do
I'm very
a lightning
curious.
round.
Hmm?
Do you have like specific questions or do you just want me to ramble? Because like we don't
No,
have to stop
I
at
would
the
love to
hour.
know
Yeah.
the vibe, like which might take a little bit.
I mean, okay.
Like,
So the quick version is the vibe evolves over the 2 years. It's a 2-year program. There's 1,000 people. Okay, this is Harvard Business School in a nutshell. If you want a deeper treatment of it, I wrote I think a pretty good blog post called I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like pinned on my blog, wiser.xyz, WYSR.xyz. And it's how I really felt about the 2 years because I like graduated and I reflected on it. Spoiler alert, not all good. But so the quick vibe is the first 3 months is the most intense FOMO that I've ever experienced
mm-hmm.
because you have 1,000 type A or type A LARPing people,
Mm-hmm.
all who have a feeling inside of them that they won't make friends. And not making friends at like a place like Harvard Business School is the ultimate, oh, you didn't actually deserve to be there because the people there didn't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Crazy Frog, 100% right. 200K for a not all good experience, definitely a little bit of a rip moment.
Mm.
But everyone feels that way because they're all insecure overachievers that
Mhm.
have basically been raised like fucking racehorses to
Mhm.
chase whatever carrot is the next most important carrot.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't the shiny version of this, but I had my own version of it in the Georgia public school system, right? Because like there's AP classes and shit like that. But no chance I would have gotten into a place like that without going into the army. Like just my life wasn't set up for that, and the army was like the thing that let me not have to compete in the same bucket. But so
Mhm.
for 3 months, everyone is desperate to make friends because they're like, oh, I'm not going to make any friends, and there's 1,000 of these motherfuckers doing this.
Mhm.
3 months in, the rich people all realize that, oh, the kid that they went to boarding school with like is also there, so they don't have to try that hard to have friends because they already had the friends that are pre-made or they interned at Goldman Sachs or whatever together. And so like the rich kids all go to like Paris for a weekend and they're like, okay, now like we have our group, and they're like
Mhm.
solidifying that.
Mhm.
Everybody else starts to kind of find their people, but come December, January, the internship hunt kicks off like hard.
Mhm.
Like the formal processes have started beforehand for like banking, consulting, whatever. And so like 30% of the school kind of does that again. But for everybody else, those interviews are really happening January, February. And then for startup stuff, it's happening April, like March, April, because that's like later hiring. And so fall semester FOMO, spring semester of your first year, a lot of just like super job oriented stuff because the only thing that is like more important than making friends to these people is like having a high status job coming out of it.
Mhm.
And high status
Mhm.
sometimes means money, sometimes it just means like having access to a scarce resource. Like VC or product management was the big thing back in 2018, 2019. I think it might be less so now, but it's still pretty important to people. And so your first year, FOMO into job stress, then you do your summer internship where everyone kind of goes off and does whatever. The second year, people that have jobs, like they get a return offer at an internship that they like, they just chill. They like hang out and like drink and like screw around and do. There's a class of people that is basically the people that you would expect that a place like HBS or Stanford Business School or these Wharton or whatever, it's their 2-year break to fuck off because they know they're going to go back to private equity or high finance or whatever.
Right. They're just like funded by the place to network and all of that. So wait, so what did you have your like do you have any military buddies who were doing the program at the same time?
So the way like military buddies, no. I made friends with people that like were West Pointers or whatever. But like it's tough. Like I didn't know anybody going into HBS. Like I didn't have somebody a couple years ahead of me I could ask for advice. I kind of didn't even believe, like I applied because I was like, oh, it's free for veterans to apply. And so I applied. Yeah, like straight up, if it wasn't free, if I had to pay $200 to apply, I probably wouldn't have applied.
Oh, okay. Did you have to pay tuition, or was it free too?
Oh, yeah, I did, but straight up the application because like
GI Bill.
Well, so I was on Army undergrad scholarship, and so the Army paid for my undergrad, and then I had to pay it off in the Army, and then I would have needed to stay in a couple extra years to get GI Bill for grad school. And so but so obviously I make friends with military people, but like I didn't make lifelong friends with the military folks because I was in this like weird spot of not wanting to do the thing that they were like funneling me to do. Cause like when you get to a place, like there's only a couple approved off like paths for vets. Cause like I always tell people that are getting like vets that are getting out that the military is a resume multiplier, but anything times 0 is fucking 0, dude. And so for most vets, you can't get most of the jobs that you would want to do because they want to do the safe thing and hire somebody who did something that's like similar to that ahead of time. Even if you're, you know, coming from a like a good school or whatever. And so what they want you to do is they want you to go to business school, learn your fucking accounting, go work at a consulting firm or an investment bank for 2 to 4 years, do a real job, you know, huge air quotes on that. And then after you've put in your time at these, you know, soul sucking places, then you're allowed to do a normal job or like a tech job or whatever. I heard that and I was just like reflexively rebellious as I've talked about before. I just didn't like it did. I hate when people are like, hey, Cameron, you can only do this. Like it pisses me off a lot. And so I did the hard thing, which is like try to go directly into tech stuff. I think I've talked about this before. I did a lot of interviews. I didn't get any return offers for internships except for one at Amazon, which I went to, and we can talk about that later. But the anyway, the long and short of it is like most of the vets were like, oh, I just left a career escalator that sucked. I can do another one and get paid a lot more. And I kind of have the same levels of like thinking about it, which is like not that much. And so most of my vet friends went to go do banking or consulting. Some of it, for some, it was a great choice and they're like very happy. For others, they quit within 2 years because that's kind of what typically happens. And now they're trying to find their path. But like, I'm the only psycho that like went straight up into startup stuff from the military. And so like, you know, I have
it paid off.
What was that?
It paid off.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I love my life, you know, I'd love other versions of my life too. But a consequence of that path is I am still kind of in this quasi-perpetual outsider because I don't have anybody else with like a shared path that I can be like, yo, dude, this thing that I experienced sucked.
Yeah.
Right. Because like other, like, I just don't have that like touch point with other people a lot of the time. And now I'm in this like weirdo, like fake crypto app. I don't have a path that other people can like connect with. And now I'm doing content stuff. Like,
I know.
I like kind of in the same way that you're like, no, I need no pity. I'm high agency, internal locus of control about my life. But the reality is like, there are not many people that I can commune with on like a shared experience path. Cause like, I just got a weird freaking path, man. And so do you.
Well, I think yours is Well, is it? I guess we can't have like relatability Olympics going on.
Yeah, we don't need that. Like and all that's to say is
I think it's a narcissism though, because it's like I'm sure everyone's path is unique, and that like we just
don't
like
think
to
so.
think that.
I think that there are this isn't a
disagree.
normative judgment. Like I'm not saying this is like right or wrong. I do think a lot of people do the obvious next step. Like most people look at their options and they pick the one that is the path of least resistance because of course they do. That's very reasonable. It's not a crazy thing to be like,
Right.
"Oh, what's the obvious choice that's like
Yeah.
generally safe? Let me just
Right.
do that." I respect that path. It just wasn't
Well,
for
at
me.
least I feel like everyone in the chat has, I feel like, extremely unique paths.
Maybe that's our touch
Yes.
point. We just got a bunch of weirdos,
of
non-derogatory in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think like, you know, that's what we can end on today. Real community, Kubin says, real community would be able to empathize, maybe not this fake online community.
Rip us.
Yeah. Most people take the easy path. I agree. Tutorizer. Oh, Crazy Frost says tutorizer. I honestly think the upper class jobs of trust fund kid to PE pipeline will still be there. This is based on patronage, but the rest is probably gone. Yeah,
I bet on that.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's all forge our own paths for the rest of the day. And yes, weirdos do change the world. Thank you all.
Most
for
don't.
changing the world.
Love y'all.
Okay. We'll end on the
We're still doing